Hey, Moto Academy podcast episode, who knows? But we're at a different location, if you guys can't tell. And shout out Kelana Humphrey. Kelana Humphrey, is that how you say it?
Yeah, Kelana Humphrey, yeah.
Great, geez.
I've gone a lot worse.
Yeah, well, trust me, people botch my name.
Yeah.
Good Lord. Shout out to Dustin, Kelana's dad, for setting up the setup. Pretty legit. Okay, well, so I have a couple of questions.
Yep.
But first things first, we rode today.
Yeah, so much fun.
You made me look bad. So
Sorry about that.
Last time I saw you ride was when?
Last time you saw me ride, let's see, it was about a year and a half ago.
Was that at Moto Bros?
Yeah,
for
I was
class?
at Moto. Yeah, that was.
And
Moto
that was your
Bros.
first day on a big bike.
First ever day on a big bike, correct? Yeah.
Yeah. So the difference, and I've seen footage of you since.
Yeah.
Endoing and supercross whoops and such, but the difference from that day to today, obviously, pretty drastic. Like you ride the bike like a man now. Where that first day you looked visually way smaller. Too.
Yeah.
Have you grown
definitely.
a ton since then?
Yeah, I've grown like maybe 2 or 3 inches.
Okay.
I filled out a little bit more, and I think it's just like now. I think it was just getting over like. I think about like a month or two later, like I was off super minis. Like I was like, my plan was to finish out super minis for the rest of the year, and like I got home, I rode supercross a little bit on the big bike, and then I was just like, yeah, I don't want to touch the mini bike anymore. So
you would have been 14 still, or just turned
no,
15?
I was 15. Yeah. I just turned 15.
And straight to the 250F at first, right?
Yeah. No, didn't do a 125. But I think like as more I got comfortable in it too, like I started riding it like a super mini, and just like kind of like started moving around on the bike, and staying in front of it too, like like letting it yank you around the track. Yeah, exactly. And I feel really comfortable on the big bike now, and then even getting on the start too, like it's heavier than a normal bike, but when you ride it, dude, it feels like a 125.
Yeah, doesn't it?
Like you can put the bike wherever you want it, in a corner, you can hit whatever. Like it's.
Have you crashed hard on a Stark yet?
I've ate it a decent, like
jump corner or what?
Jump, yeah.
Okay.
But nothing like too crazy.
Did it feel different? Because I haven't yet, I don't think. But I did fall on my Alta, which was an electric bike before the Starks came out, and it hurt bad. Did it feel any different? Like, did it feel like more weight coming down?
No.
Okay.
I felt fine.
Okay. Well, that makes me feel better.
Yeah.
Today, I was frightened the entire day.
Yeah.
Like I get here and I see it, and maybe that's one thing. Like my goal when I come and ride with you guys in a setting like today, when we're filming especially, is to try and portray to the people watching how gnarly it is what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to look at, and this is the bummer, is like you do it feels awesome. You're not necessarily always doing it for what it looks like on footage anyway. Yeah. But then you watch the footage and you're like, why?
Yeah.
Like,
so sometimes I'll do like a whip on the ramp, or like I felt like I did something so good, and I'll look at my phone, like I get the clip, I'm like, really?
I know.
All right, I'm gonna go again. I gotta like make it look cooler.
Yeah, it never does justice. Whether it's the size of a whip or the size of the jump.
Yeah, video never does justice for sure.
So when you get here and you experience it, it's a totally different ballgame.
For sure.
So for those watching, listening, you have a setup like the sick house with the track, a pool, which was awesome to hop in. Thank you for letting me hop in the pool after riding. And then the track is like right here. And by track, I mean free rides,
track,
supercross.
Yeah, it's definitely not an ordinary track, you know, with the supercross whoops and the rhythm section. But then you also got the 75-foot ramp, the next gen, the hip jump, the double.
It's so cool.
It's sick. It's awesome.
Yeah, I just feel like a dork because I didn't jump the double. I mean, today was tough though. It was a tough,
for sure.
So it was like moon dust.
So silty, yeah. Like we've only had this track for like 2-3 weeks, and we've been trying to get as much water as we could. Like I woke up at 5 this morning and was watering and trying to keep as much moisture, but you know, when it's 100 degrees outside, there's only so much you can do. But
imagine
I think
that with good moisture though.
Yeah, like
when you get a proper rain.
Yeah, when it hits winter and it starts raining, like one good rain like that, this place is gonna be unreal.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to fly in and ride it again.
Yeah,
then.
Of course, yeah.
Because today was not to make an excuse, but like learning those obstacles that. And watching you do it, I was like, gosh darn it. You were making it all look so simple, especially like the rhythm section. I was like, how is he going 3 on and then 3 out so simple? And yet like I couldn't even time the table over single.
Yeah.
I'm jumping into the bottom of the face. It's like, have I done this before? Everything when you get here in person just looks massive.
Yeah.
And especially that next gen ramp, like sitting underneath it when you jump it, it looks, have you sat underneath as somebody else has jumped it before? Because it's
I was the first one that
difference.
jumped. I just jumped it.
You haven't seen anybody do it yet,
well,
right?
So Patrick Evans came, but
okay.
I hit it like the day or two before. So like, yeah, it just feels normal to me.
Does he toss his big whips on that ramp?
Yeah, the biggest whips. Everyone's biggest whips are on that ramp, just because it's, it's almost twice the size. It's how steep it is, like just everything. Yeah.
And for reference too, I didn't hit it, which makes me feel bad about myself. But
you have to come back for redemption.
And I need some proper suspension.
Some stiff suspension.
That'd make me feel a little bit better, because I could feel it. Like even when I'd sit into the face of the normal 75, it'd blow through so bad.
Honestly, though,
I had to up the horsepower.
I will say, sitting into the 75 is almost a bigger G out.
Okay.
Because like,
it's a shorter ramp.
It's a shorter ramp and it gets steeper quicker. It's just like, it kind of just hits you. Like you don't have a lot of time to think, where the next gen, it's like just so much.
I can see that.
Yeah. Gradual.
Gosh, it looks so beautiful when you do it. It looks so nice. And
it feels so smooth when you hit the ramp too. It's just like butter. Yeah.
It literally sends you like what almost looks like twice as high.
Yeah, probably.
And like, again, footage won't do justice, but like the landing is pretty steep.
It's a pretty steep
landing. Is that a normal landing? Like if you look at other freestyle landings?
So that landing's actually built for the next gen. That's why it is so steep, and it still hurts a little bit on the next gen. It's a 30-degree landing. So
steeper maybe than what I've hit for a normal 75?
Oh, 100%, because that's what they have at X Games. It's a 30-degree landing, which for like a 75-foot, like the ramp you hit, like normally it's like a 26 degree, so it's a 4-degree different. Yeah, so that's kind of also like why when you hit the 75, like it kind of feels like you're like coasting over the landing a little bit, because it is pretty steep.
Well, that makes sense. And that was part of the reason I was intimidated at first. I don't remember how long it took. It took me a little bit, right? Like what did I start with? You started with the
hip jump.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was that a weird one to choose to do first?
No, not really.
What did you start with?
I started with the 75 because the hip jump wasn't ready yet, and then I did the next gen, and then the hip, and then totaled myself on the hip, and then had to reshape it, and then hit it again, and it was dialed, and then the double.
And I had never really done a hip like that before. Which I forgot to talk about, by the way, Ethan, in the courses. I meant to do a kind of an episode on the hip. I guess maybe I could try to do it right here. But the one thing with the hip is like, I understood conceptually what to do in that you go straight.
Yeah, you just go straight.
And then you wait to turn. Yeah. Right? I think what people would think when you hit it for the first time is they would think you're supposed to arc.
Yeah.
But that doesn't work.
Well, the thing is, if you arc, you're going to land in the berm, which I almost did when I built it too steep, and I barely even arced.
Yeah.
But like, the landing is like so big, like there's so much room for error, and like it's nice too because you can just progressively go bigger and bigger. You can start out small and go as big as you want. Yeah,
it's when you get it good too, it feels nice. I wish the takeoff stayed a little bit more
I know,
intact, because and there was a few where like you would ride out after yours was done and look up at mine, and there was one that I got.
Oh yeah, there was one that you got. You were like super.
Did it look okay? Because it felt good.
It looked great. Yeah.
Okay, good.
It looked good.
Because there was one of them where I was like, all right, I think he was looking at it, and I'm like, it felt like you could tell, right? When you could feel yourself.
Yeah, and it really like even like getting it up there, it's like effortless, especially on the start too. Like like I'm telling you, you just ride up it straight and barely just turn your bars and just hit the throttle, and you're like that, and then. It's such a nice feeling when you're up there and you yank it down perfect to grease it. Yeah.
The Stark is a perfect bike for that. I mean, the Stark, what's beautiful about it is it can come back from like any situation. So when you let the float go, basically, and which is funny because I guess I've hit small hips before, but never like an intentionally built hip like that.
Yeah.
So I knew what to do right away in my head, at least. And that's just it. You just aim either dead straight, or even sometimes you try to aim left of where you think you should go. And then you just let the front end keep carrying up and out, and you kind of just like lean your shoulder into it.
Exactly.
And when you're ready for it to come, which you're supposed to like wait. I think it's easy to be like, oh, I need to pull it back quick, but then you come back too far.
Yeah.
You just wait. And then when you want it to come, like that's a little bit of throttle on that start will pull it right around.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the great thing about the start too. Like you could save a lot of nose heavy moments with the start. Like if you just hold it wide open, it has so much torque and everything. Like, you could save a lot.
I had a few weird moments today. It's cool though, because you can, like Patrick Evans is a good example. You can manipulate that bike more than any other bike.
Oh, 100%.
So like learning oppos or learning like proper, like I'd say I love to watch the footage back. It'd probably hurt my soul watching the footage back because even my best whips probably look horrible, but like getting more and more comfortable getting it upside down, it just comes back so easy.
Yeah. And
you got to be delicate actually in the throttle. Like I don't know if a couple times in the air off the hip, I would be like, and I would like slowly bring it around with like little spurts of throttle.
Yeah. And like even like that applies to everything on the start too. Like you could correct anything in corners too. Like it feels like you can put the bike wherever you want. Like if there's a flat corner, like you're going to Cahuilla tomorrow, like ride it at Cahuilla, and like you go on a flat corner and like you want to point there, the bike will go there. It's pretty crazy, and how you can like manipulate like the rear wheel and like really controlling it by that too. And like the slide,
wait till you switch to are you switching to a handbrake?
Yeah, I'm switching to handbrake. I think like next week.
Yeah, because the handbrake, it's so accessible. You can use it in a way where like normally I wouldn't tell people to use a rear brake, but like you just pivot and do things with that handbrake. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
You'll realize really quickly why you don't need a foot brake and why it's better to have that handbrake.
Yeah.
Another thing we did today, we did some whoops.
Yep.
Pretty good.
Yeah,
I thought. Were you happy with how you got through?
I was pretty happy. Last time I hit a set of whoops, I broke my arm or my shoulder in Salt Lake.
That was the last time you got a chance to hit whoops?
Yeah, but those whoops were like the gnarliest whoops of the year. Like there was a lot of guys making mistakes in those whoops.
Was that before a left-hander into the finish?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Those whoops were tough.
Yeah. You crashed skimming them?
Yeah. Well, they had our, I don't even remember. It was so dusty because they had our race after all the qualifying sessions before they prepped it into the night show. Like what they had what they did in Vegas. So
why were they doing that? Every time I saw
I think
a futures race, I'm like, they're sending them out when the track is mangled.
Yeah, all year in futures they did that. Like I mean, it's probably good for us to learn, but like, dude, all of the rounds at futures, the track was so mangled. Yeah. Like it would be like after all the qualifying sessions. Like I remember St. Louis and Foxborough. Like, dude, I was so scared.
Oh yeah.
Like hitting the finish line. Like
totally.
I would come out of the corner. And I couldn't even decide to pick a route. I would just let Jesus take the wheel. Like I would come to this finish line. I'm like, well, whatever my bike lands into, like I'll just commit, I guess. And didn't crash on any finish lines or triples, so that was good. But yeah, it was
scary, isn't it?
Yeah. But so like I think like that translate like to now like where I'm doing the on or today when I was doing the 3 on off, and then there was those like 3 little ruts. Like it was like. That was so much.
Starting to get confident with that?
Starting to get comfy on that.
You could tell because you were keeping your head forward and you were like properly pushing through it. Like there was no hesitation going into that pocket.
Yeah, like I was, and with like again going back to the start, you can if I'm getting a little nose heavy, I can just hit the throttle.
Yeah, the start it just makes me realize though that how clutch reliant and so much my teaching is, hey, stay away from the clutch, right?
Yeah.
But so much of the technical things like whoop riding, I'm using the clutch when maybe people think that I'm not. Yeah. So on the start, it's intimidating for me.
Yeah.
Your whoop passes looked good though.
Yeah.
And it is a matter of like once you start to understand more the concept of like, okay, keep these RPMs low, keep the wheel spin down as much as possible. You started to float and stay a little lighter. That bike does hit the whoop heavy though.
It does, yeah.
I mean, that's going to be one of the negatives to that bike is it's probably going to be better at jumping through whoops than it is skimming.
Yeah.
Can you jump through whoops well?
I need to learn how to jump through whoops good. Yeah. Like I can wheel tap, but it's just like hitting the pocket and tripling. Like
it's tough.
Yeah. It definitely takes practice.
It's just an acquired skill. I never really learned it super well because I skim no matter what.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't matter. Like the Salt Lake whoops, when pretty much everybody went to jumping and maybe there was like a couple of guys still skimming, I still would have been skimming.
Yeah.
Because it's just, I'm more comfortable doing it.
Yeah.
Like today, for example, and it's funny how people are comfortable with different things.
Yeah.
Like today, I looked at that and I was right away the most comfortable hitting the whoops.
That's crazy.
Which was the scariest thing for you, kind of maybe, and definitely the scariest thing for Lincoln.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, he's like, the whoops, no way. Like, I don't want anything to do with those. Yeah. And I'm like, let me start there.
Yeah. I remember like you were warming up, haven't even hit the ramp yet, and you just blew by me and hit the whoops. I was like, did he really just do that? Like, yeah, especially stock suspension too. That
was tough.
That's sick.
It's tough, but it's good practice to like, you got to keep the bike so light to make stock suspension work and whoops, because what happens is it packs, and by the time you're 3 whoops in, you're completely like, it hasn't even come back up yet.
Yeah.
It's still on its way down. So then like you have to just keep the bike so light.
Yeah.
But especially being your height, you're kind of like Deegan height probably, right? Yeah. You've got to ride in the right position because it's a little bit easier for the taller guys in the whoops. Even my height compared to yours, like I've got a bit more leverage to go either direction.
Totally.
You've got to be in the perfect spot, and it's keeping the head forward.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't stress that enough. Like, you got to keep the head forward
totally,
while keeping the lower body back.
Yeah.
Right. And you did a good job of that today. Even the times where it started to get a little skatey at the end, you didn't really come back on it too far. You kind of stayed in it.
Yeah. I try to act like there's like a string over my bar or something.
Yep. And the more you practice that in kind of like those situations where it starts to go wrong and you experience, oh, all right, well, it actually worked quite well.
Yeah. You
can learn to maintain that in times of like when things are freaking you out and things are going wrong.
Yeah.
Well, it happened to me a few times today. Even the first time I hit the 75, as soon as I took off, it was like, uh-oh. Like it felt, I don't know if you saw it, but it didn't feel like I was going to make it.
Yeah, that's how that ramp is. Because I think the landing's so tall, like you think you're going to come up short, but then you just, like you greased it good. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I nicked it a tiny bit.
But it was nothing to stress about.
No, but as soon as I took off, I was like, oh God.
Yeah.
But my reaction, thankfully, was to drive head forward and actually level out.
Yeah.
Right? Where maybe I think 10 years ago, my reaction would have been to like freeze up and get back on.
I think that's the one thing that I've been fortunate enough to like learn is like always case like this. Never case like this.
Yes.
Because if you case like this, you're gonna get bucked over no matter what you do. Like 1 in a million chance you'll be fine. But like if you case it like this, like I mean,
when did you learn that? Do you remember?
I want to say it was 3 years ago. Tom Parsons taught me.
Oh, cool.
How to do it. Yeah, he
because it's funny because when you're on little bikes, I feel like a lot of my young career when I was little was you always thought that you were supposed to land like this.
On 65s and even 85s, I was always like, yeah, I'm casing something. I'm gonna nose heavy. But he was like, because like I did it, I cased a couple things on like on a Super Mini, and he was like telling me like, hey, like you might have got away with it there, but like you won't always get away with it. And I had a couple crashes like that. It's like make sure when you case something, always either be level or tire first, because when you land tire first, you're probably just gonna stop. Like you're not gonna go anywhere, or you'll crash, but it's gonna be slower speed than if you land wide. If you wide open, you're gonna go for a ride.
Yeah, that's good advice, and that's good that you learned that early on. That will be really important in Supercross.
Yeah, totally.
Casing a triple in a rhythm or something, like knowing to just level that bike out. And by level it out, like you actually usually want to get it pitched down, almost as if you're gonna downside it. I saw Lincoln had a couple pretty big cases today. Did you see it in the rhythm? I think.
Yep.
He had a couple of good ones, and he did a great job.
Yeah, did it perfect.
Yeah, and it just kind of like stuffs you. No, it doesn't feel great.
Yeah, it doesn't feel
but
good.
It's better than creating the slingshot and getting absolutely
Because if Lincoln maybe if he would have landed nose heavy feet come
Oh
whatever.
Even on just the double.
Yeah.
Right. And then the start, forget about it. You go
you're
20 miles an hour to 100 real quick.
Yeah, you're gonna go to the moon. You're gonna slingshot so fast.
Yeah. So that's super important. I try to tell my students that all the time. And the instinct is typically the opposite, right?
Yeah.
It's, and you start doing this.
Yeah.
So question, because I don't want to make this super long for you.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, this setup is pretty unique.
Yeah.
But your goal is to race Supercross, right?
Yeah.
Well, I guess let me ask you, like, what is your goal? Like super long term. Give me 10 years out. So you're what? You're 16 right now?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're 30 years old. So 14 years down the road.
Yep.
Walk me through it.
Yeah, man. To be honest, that's a long time, but like, and obviously life changes, life's crazy, but like I feel like my ideal scenario would be, to race Supercross from, realistically what training starts October, right? Mm-hmm. Like late October, early November, boot camp starts. Do that throughout the Supercross season. And then after that, during the summer and whenever, just create content. Cool. And free ride and hit ramps and I feel like people also don't realize like how gnarly free riding is too. Like I feel like it kind of has that like outlook of like it's just like go have fun and people party and all that, but like it's gnarly. Like I mean you saw it firsthand today. Like it takes like some mental strength and like you got to be strong. Like I still go to the gym 4 days a week, like because I got to be strong when I land or pulling the bike around. And yeah, I mean, when you're doing video parts and stuff, you're out there 10 hours a day grinding, getting the video, and getting the content. But yeah, I feel like that would be my ideal like situation. Like, I retire whenever I retire. But like during that, it'd be cool to have.
So Supercross only.
Yeah, Supercross only.
Cool.
And
free ride.
Yeah, free ride
content.
Yeah, content.
Make movies.
Yeah,
cool
exactly.
Stuff like that.
Make sick action movies. I mean, you kind of see it already. Like, skating, surfing. Like, Nigel Houston goes and wins X Games podiums at Olympics, and then he makes the sickest street part. Yeah, you see the same thing with surfing. You see it with John. He just won his third world title, second or third world title, but he still makes the raddest, coolest films. So I feel like that's what I want to do. But obviously, life's crazy, and sometimes it could sway you the other direction. But if I can, have fun, ride my dirt bike at the end of the day, and make a living out of it, I'm fine either or.
I think that's a cool plan. And I think that the Supercross only, and then creating content essentially in like high production content, cool stuff, movie type stuff, like creating storylines and traveling the world and shooting in different places and being like super creative. Like, I mean, that's the best part about that is you 100%. Can create something.
Exactly. And I think really too, like, freeriding and Supercross, like they have a lot of similarities. Like not a lot of people can do it. Like it's all about timing and precision. You can't be off like mentally. Like your timing has to be good. You have to grease everything. You have to be downside. Like you can't have a bad night of sleep before riding Supercross. You can't have a bad night of sleep before freeriding because you have to be so mentally sharp and precise. So, and just like the rhythm and the flow of it, I feel like it's pretty similar.
And the creativity of it.
Yeah, exactly. Like Supercross can be
Supercross, like choosing,
different lines and rhythm
options.
Like you go to an outdoor track, and I love riding outdoors. Don't get me wrong. I'm not dissing on outdoors or nothing, but like, you go to a Supercross track, you can do whatever. Like you can go 2-3 here, you can go 3-3, or you could go 4-2. Like it just like, like there's different options that are like just about as fast. Where it's outdoors, it's like, all right, well, it's either go inside or outside here, and that's faster. You're going to hit the same tabletop. And
there can definitely be objections to that for sure. Because outdoors can be done in a way too, especially like I didn't watch much of it, unfortunately, but like Motocross of Nations, seeing a track like that is just so many ruts everywhere. Like you can be ultra creative and kind of...
definitely. And like you saw on that last lap in the last moto, like with Jet and Geyser, like Geyser was so far back, and you know Jet was riding phenomenal. Like he had his lines down, and you know somehow, some way, Geyser found a couple outsides just to get a little bit closer to him. And yeah, I feel like outdoors too. Like you can definitely like you see
especially the competition aspect of it, because it's like a game of chess. Like it's creativity.
100%.
I just think it's so cool what you're doing, because it is very much unorthodox. And not what anybody else is doing, right? And I'm very much in alignment with that. I think it's cool, because I think that a lot of your competition will be kids that are kind of following the same path. With kind of the training facility type of path. Not even if they're not at the training facility, following the training facility path. And I think the best riders that we've seen over the years, even the Lawrences and the Degans would be an example of it, are people that have figured out their own version of like the holistic view of all of it. Right? Pull a little bit from here, pull a little bit from here, pull a little bit from here, and kind of piece together their creative version of it. That feels like what you're doing, but even in a more drastic way. Like you're just developing bike skill in a free ride type setting. And I think, and a lot of people disagree with my opinions, but I think that developing bike skill, well-rounded bike skill, is the most important part.
For sure.
Because that will carry you through everything else. And your generation, more so I feel like even than generations in the past, tend to lack bike skill, I think, sometimes, because they're so gung-ho on just, and this will come around, and maybe it's starting to now, they're so gung-ho on lap times and just going as fast as possible and busting out motos and sprint laps, and it's just like they don't learn why they're doing what they're doing.
Totally.
Right? And they just go fast. So when you see a kid like that end up in a situation, it's like, well, they should have definitely saved that. Next thing you know, they're just absolutely cartwheeling themselves because they didn't know what was happening. Right? Okay, we're back from those few short messages.
Quick intermission.
And I don't know what we were talking about.
Thanks to our sponsors.
What we were talking about? Dirt bikes.
Talking about dirt bikes, dirt.
Creativity.
Jumps, stunts, supercross.
What stunts did you do today?
Stunts, let's see.
No footed
can. I'm trying to learn switchblades, I think they're called. Like you twist.
Both sides? Oh,
no, you twist up. Still working on those, still getting there.
Each no-footed can that you did was better and better. Like the first ones, I was laughing because it looked like it was identical to like old school, like when Ricky Carmichael did it, where it was like perfectly out to the side. Which is cool. But then the other ones, you started to go more out and backwards.
I like those ones. Those what Carmichael used to do were so cool.
Oh,
those were awesome.
Middle of a race.
Let's see. We did knack, whip, oppo.
Your knack-knacks look good too.
Thank you.
I'm afraid to, and so were Lincoln's. I didn't even do one today. I'm afraid to do them on the Stark for some reason.
Dude, my feet are like so close to coming out because it's just like so because it's so much torque and like you don't have a shifter. So I think these people they make
You have stock foot pegs?
No, I got spiked foot pegs. I'm still getting. So they make these shout out Fastway, really good pegs. They make this piece to the side cover where it's like it's for a shifter and it hooks. It's like a shift hook,
like a fake shift hook.
So I'm gonna get one of those. So then you can really
design for whips and knack-knacks.
Patrick Evans designed it. So essentially
Okay, that will be nice because having your foot, especially today, like I was on a stock Stark, shout out Stark for dropping off my bike. That was awesome. I didn't want to do it because the bike already feels slippery as is. And I just didn't want I've had it happen plenty of times.
Really? Yeah. I've done it a couple times or once.
Knack turns into a no-footed knack real quick and then it's like, you're just floating away from the thing.
A thing or two about hanging off the bike lifelessly.
So that was the only thing I did today, maybe that you guys didn't, was a Superman. Did any of them look? I had one. My last Superman,
good.
I held it out
good.
For a while.
I need to learn those. What did you learn? Easy. Did you learn them before straight rhythm or after?
Way before.
Way before.
Yeah, I learned. Yeah. So what was straight rhythm in 2019? No, I learned Superman's in 2009 at GPF.
GPF,
They had
really?
a massive step up in the center, and
They still have it, right? There's not. I'm sure it's not as
yeah,
big.
well, kind of,
Yeah.
but it used to be massive. And I remember I would always watch Chad Charbonneau. Do you remember that name by chance?
Yeah. Was he on Geico?
Maybe, I don't know if he was, but he was
Charbonneau?
he was on Honda, and his family might have had something to do with Geico Honda, but no,
Yeah.
not Tristan Charbonneau.
Oh no, yeah, I think that's Tristan Charbonneau. Because he went to the GPs, right? Charbonneau.
That might have been Tristan.
Yeah.
That was Tristan.
Yeah.
Different Charbonneau, older, way older.
Mm.
But he was the first person I remember seeing in real life, like really throw like a proper upside down whip.
Really?
Like I'd never seen anything like it.
Yeah.
And this jump was the perfect whip jump. And then at that time, GPF 2, like the jump by the cabins was also massive. All the jumps were huge.
Yeah.
None of the jumps there are really that much fun at the moment, but everything was a freestyle whip jump.
Yeah.
And what I would do is I would just go out and session. That's kind of like what I did back then. I would slack off on motos, but I just wanted to learn different stuff.
Yeah.
So and there's a video on YouTube somewhere of me playing around on the step up doing all of the tricks. So I learned no footed can to both sides. What is that called?
Double can, or I don't know.
I feel like I used to call it pendulum. Is that wrong?
I don't know, something like that. Yeah.
Saran wraps.
So you can do saran, like where you go
one leg.
Yeah. Yep. That's crazy.
Yeah. Easy.
Yeah.
What I know I did. I'm pretty sure I was even able to do proper bar hops at the
really
time. Knack-knacks, obviously. I would do no footed cans to heel clickers because those were easy, like we were talking about this morning. Like just the flow of coming back from the no footed can and kind of bring you there. And then I was like, well, shoot, let's I feel like a Superman should be on the radar. And the first time I ever tried it, I was so afraid. I slowly brought my legs out, and what happened is like they just kept doing this. And by the time I landed, I was basically like straight rhythm. By the time I landed, I was completely just tsunamied straight up and down. And I wrote it out. I slapped it back down.
Yeah.
But something clicked after I did it that first time. I was like, oh, I get it. All I have to do is when I decide to commit to it, like properly throw your body out, and it will fling itself back in. Just that momentum of going out brings it back in.
Gotcha.
It's same thing for no footed cans. Same thing for a lot of the freestyle tricks.
Yeah.
So, and then once I learned that, it's so easy, especially on a freestyle ramp.
Yeah.
God, you have all the time in the world. I would you saw me today because I was afraid.
Yeah.
I would wait. Did it look like I was doing this? Because I was waiting until I was at the top
I
of my
didn't look too
jump.
bad, but I mean, imagine you doing that on the next gen.
Oh, you could wait forever.
Yeah, or you could just
hold it forever.
Hold it for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it requires definitely some core strength to like almost hold that plank position out and then to bring it back, but not that much. The biggest thing is like when you bring it back, not getting your feet snagged on the fender. Because worst case scenario is you bring it back and you got both legs on one side of the bike.
Yeah,
right?
That's not good.
But it's pretty easy. And like you see Axel Hodges does cool versions of them where you kind of like twists.
Yeah.
I don't know what the heck that's called, but it looks cool.
Exactly. Yeah.
Lincoln was doing. He did a legit straight. I mean, it was like basically he was straight up and down when he did it one time.
Yeah.
Have you done those before, like proper seat grabs?
No, I'm getting a grab hole cut right now as we speak. So
same as his.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Yeah, so that'll be cool. That'll be.
Oh, I would love to play around with that. I've tried to do like old school Pastrana style where you
grab the
fender, but that just feels impossible.
Yeah.
It's so far back there. Developing all those bike skills. I love the way you're doing it. I think it's unique. I think it's creative. And I think that the sport is going to come more into like, you might seem like the outlier right now, but I think that it's going to kind of naturally swing back to more of that.
Mm-hmm. Like I see like a lot of the Europeans, like they do like really their own thing. Like,
Well, the Europeans do a lot of things. I think I shouldn't say better, but like
different. Yeah,
just different. And
I mean, everything's just like tailored to them too. Yeah.
It's also like in Europe, everything is very family oriented, right? Like families will grow up and almost like create, and this isn't everywhere in Europe, but they'll have like a family compound in a sense. Right?
Yeah.
So you'll have 3 generations of family living together almost, which doesn't happen in the US at all. It's like everybody's in a rush to get away from their parents as quickly as they can. And it's like you have so much to learn.
Yeah. And like, like I feel like everyone's like way more friendly to each other in Europe. Like people like want to help each other. And I feel like that's how it kind of is in Indo too. And it's just like the tracks are like so beat up and gnarly too. But like I feel like that's almost good, like how beat up and gnarly it is, because it's like at some point you're gonna learn how to have fun on a beat up gnarly track. And sometimes like a beat up gnarly track is more fun than like just a highway fast sketchy square edge track, when it's just
you also learn to have an appreciation for all of it.
Exactly. But like
so people in the US in some regions become so jaded and used to like pristine, perfect track prep.
Especially like the training facilities too. Like,
it's amazing how because I have an opportunity to travel all over the world doing the classes, right? So I see all different regions. Yeah. And it changes very much when you go from region to region.
Oh, for sure.
Like you get a little dust in one part of the country. I won't call out regions. Yeah. But in one part of the country, and it's like, God forbid, if there's a little dust, like track's unacceptable. Yeah. Or if it gets a little too rough or a little too rutted. Yeah. And then other places I'll go and I'm like, oh my God, this place is annihilated. Like I can't even see where I'm going. It's so dusty, and everybody's just like.
Yeah, I mean, like the beginning of like off season for Supercross, I trained at the Moto sandbox, and the track was awesome. Just I mean, it'd get rough sometimes, but like, Baker has it so dialed over there. And then not gonna name any names for the tracks, but certain tracks I would come to, and the whoop sweat haven't been prepped in like 3 weeks, and like the track is just roach. It's so dry, but like it's good for you. Like I'm like, it sucks sometimes, but like, I knew like it was good for me to ride in that, and like it obviously paid out. Like today, like it was pretty silty, but like I had a blast. Like it was.
And you excel in conditions.
Yeah.
Oh great, we're getting the 10-minute warning from Ethan. Shout out Ethan. Yeah, you excel in conditions like that.
And that's growing up in Indo too. Like we would get a track rebuilt maybe every 3 years, dude. No water. Yeah. No maintenance, nothing, dude. It was just dry. Just show up whenever. I don't even know. Like sometimes people won't even run it. It'd just be abandoned, and you would like take like try and help out as much as you could. Yeah. But like the tracks were so hammered over there.
How old? So you were born in
Indonesia, I was born in Indonesia.
How long were you there for?
Till I was 10.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah, I didn't start riding till I was 8 years old.
Stupid question. What language do they speak there?
Indonesian. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so I can speak that.
Oh, you can?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. So
what about your dad?
He can speak a little bit Indonesian too. But like, yeah, I mean, it was definitely good for me, like just to like see like what a third world country is like. I mean, it's paradise over there. It's so nice. Everything's so much cheaper, and and the food's real. Like a lot of the food is just good. You can but it's good to like know different types of cultures and 100%. All that too, because
I had that conversation with your dad today, and I think that's what's made you who you are now. Yeah, open-minded.
Yeah, for sure.
Grab a little bit from here and there. Yeah, and having exposure to other cultures. Yeah, for me is what created that. Mm-hmm. Before I started traveling, I was extremely closed-minded.
You're like, if you're stuck in the bubble here, and I'm saying there's nothing wrong with here, but like, exploring different places and just learning everything else, like your mind will open up a lot.
Mm-hmm. And you're how old are you again? I keep asking.
16.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, at 16, I would not have been able to sit in a chair across from a 30-year-old and have a conversation in front of 2 cameras. No way. Yeah, and that comes with exposure to different culture and different things. And you're exactly right. The more that you do, your mind just keeps expanding and expanding and expanding. And totally. It's amazing.
Like even you don't even have to leave the US and you'll go to so much different cultures, like, or Mexico. Like when I raced the San Felipe 250, when I Ironmanned it, like you go 100 miles south and it's a whole different world.
Mm-hmm.
Or you go, 1,000 miles north, and it's...
Well, even think where we are right now.
Yeah.
And you drive 60 miles west.
Yeah.
It's a different world.
It's a whole different world. LA is
right.
different, a whole different world. Oregon and Washington, Canada, a whole different world.
It's cool that dirt bikes can take us to see all that, isn't it?
Yeah. Texas, Oklahoma, that is like, a whole different world. Florida.
Definitely a different world.
Yeah, Florida. But I like Florida a lot. It reminds me a lot of like Bali, like tropical, and like just how green and beautiful everything is. So I love Florida. I like it a lot there too.
Are you used to weird, creepy crawlers and creatures and things running around? Because I got attacked by an iguana earlier.
Iguana? Okay, yeah.
Aggressive.
Where at?
Right outside this door.
Iguana?
I was walking barefoot coming from the pool.
Iguana.
Well, what's in it? It was a lizard about this big.
I've never seen a lizard that big here before.
Yeah. It had an attitude. It hunted me down. Like I saw it coming, and I thought it was like, at first I thought it was a scorpion.
Yeah.
And by the time I like figured out what it was, he was running into, and I don't know if he tried to bite me or what, but he like jumped into my...
I thought iguanas are from Florida.
Ankle. And then he's got to be out there somewhere. And then he just sat there huffing and puffing for a while. And I had to like scurry him away. Yeah, big
That's crazy.
lizard of some sort.
That's crazy, yeah.
Are you used to that type of stuff being in Indonesia? Like, what do they have?
Yeah, snakes, yeah, anaconda, king cobras. Like, I remember like I was like 5, 6 years old walking around. Like, villas are super popular there. So like it's like, like the living room is pretty open.
Yeah.
And like I like walking out to the yard, and like I was 5 riding my bicycle, and I was just like ran off my bike, so scared. Like, snakes are pretty gnarly there. Yeah, especially rice paddies too. Like there's a lot of stuff there, but I mean, coyotes are pretty popular around here too.
Yeah, I'm in Connecticut, and coyotes, like when you go to bed at night, that you hear the coyotes going.
Yep.
Okay, so I have 2 questions that are pretty related to each other. One that is not. What I noticed about your riding today is that you get past fear really quickly, but not in like an uncalculated, dangerous type of way. Yeah. What is your strategy when you're jumping something for the first time, like the triple on?
Yep.
Ethan, we just had something happen. Somewhat. Was it just that?
Yeah, it was just that.
Okay, so probably not end of the world. Yeah. When you're jumping something for the first time, like that triple on, how do you walk yourself through?
Yeah, I guess so. Like, I really have excelled like these last couple of months of doing that, and I think it's like switching the shark. Like I used to just second guess myself a lot, but like every time like I would do something for the most part. So what really started making me really calculated was, have you seen that video where I overjumped that ramp by 150 feet?
Was it on a little bike?
Yeah.
Yes.
So after that, like I really like had to like think about hitting stuff, and I got my Super Mini and stuff, like, and like I had my Super Mini so dialed. Like I knew what gear to had everything in, like barely had any sketchy moments, and so that kind of translated into big bikes too. And I remember Red Bull Imagination last year. I hadn't rode a 450 before I went to that event, and I went up there.
You're on a 450?
Yeah, very first time on a 450 was out there, but like it was so much easier. I'm so glad I rode a 450 out there instead of a 250, because like I could just hear everyone. That was the first time I could hear people and really gauge out how they hit it, because I used to just guinea pig everything. So really that like gave me a lot of confidence, and I think like for my process really it's just like I just have to believe and trust in my ability. Like I remember like I used to just second guess, like ask people this, how do you hit this, how do you hit that, how do you hit this, but like really like look at the jump and really just think about it and just trust in yourself. Hey, I'm a good dirt bike rider. Just make. You know
what to do.
All I really say is just make the jump. Just do the jump. And I think Patrick Evans actually was it, or no, it was Whacker. Whacker, really good guy. Like just do the jump. And ever since I took that advice, like it's helped me a lot, because like Yeah, the 3-on, like I didn't even, like I accidentally did it. Like I wasn't even planning on doing it, and I just had the speed on. It's like, all right, like if I just gas it here and seat bounce here, like I'll make it fine. So it's
Did you have any fears with that jump specifically?
Yeah. Oh,
okay.
100%.
What were you afraid of with it?
I was afraid maybe if I case it, if I go too far, like.
Okay, so multiple things.
Yeah, I have fear. Like people think I'm fearless. I'm scared crapless doing stuff, but like it's just overcoming that and just doing it. And I think like my rule of thumb too is 2 run-ups, maybe 3 tops, and I have to do it because then like you start guessing it, overthinking it, and all that stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
At the Moto Academy, we have the 4-lap rule.
4-lap rule. Yeah, that's
Right.
good. That's a good rule. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And I did you hear me yell it today, Ethan? I ride by Ethan, and it was before I hit the freestyle ramp. I was like, 4-lap rule, I got to do it.
Yeah.
And it is very true. Like,
yeah,
I could feel myself. It was actually because I've started, especially the last few months, becoming more in tune with like just how I think and how I feel. And after pacing you a couple times, and I wasn't necessarily even pacing your speed, I just was listening to the bike.
Yeah.
And we were all on Starks today, but I could still hear the zing of it. So I can still listen. And then my goal is to just match the pitch of the throttle. And I had to do it 2 times or 3 times maybe.
Yeah.
And I could feel myself starting to like conjure up this weird anxiety for no reason.
Yeah.
Right. I was like, just freaking do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Just hit the jump. Yeah.
I hit the sand little berm before it, the final time before I actually did it. And I'm like, what am I actually afraid of? And I answered my own question in my head. I was like, I'm not afraid of it. I'm going to do it perfectly. Of course.
Yeah.
And sure enough, I did.
Exactly. Yeah. That's just kind of the mindset you got to have.
Do you know who Jay Shetty is?
No, I don't.
Do you do any, like, what do you do to learn or grow, or do you read at all? Do you listen to podcasts at all? Like, what are you up to?
I'm such a moto nerd. Like, I listen to every single moto podcast.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, every single one. Like, I'll go, Pulp MX, Steve Mathis recap show,
do you
race
listen
interviews.
To Gypsy Tales at all?
Yeah, every single Gypsy Tales moto related. Vital MX. Like, I'm such a like nerd on that type of stuff. Like MXGP show, like every single moto podcast is out there. I like do it when I work out, right before I go to sleep. Like that's how I go to sleep too. I'll put on a podcast and go to sleep.
Cool.
I'm driving somewhere. Yeah, I'm really into
that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're just instilling the dirt bike consciousness, especially before you go to sleep. I think that's very cool. Okay, so Jay Shetty he was a monk actually at one point, and he has a really popular podcast where he just about like self improvement essentially. I don't know what you want to call the category, but the way he ends his podcast, I think it's so cool. He has 2 questions, and I'm going to ask them to you now.
Okay.
And I gave you a little tip earlier on, so I don't know if you had time to think about them.
Yeah.
Which one do I start with? What is the worst advice that you've ever received?
There's nothing really that comes to the top of my head, but I think like the worst advice, it's not even like advice that I've given, it's just like other people like trying to give me advice. Like when it's like they're not in my circle and I don't really know them, and they're just trying to get involved, and like it could be anything in life, and they're just like trying to give me advice of this, and like taking that advice, I think that's the worst advice. If that kind of makes sense.
That's great. Yeah, especially, holy cow, at your age, like that, I think that was maybe my biggest confusion, is that I didn't know who to accept information from. And it was like, especially if I was doing well at any point, oh my gosh, it was overwhelming with the amount of people that wanted to kind of get their foot in the door. Yeah, that's great. What is, if anything comes to mind, what is the best advice that you've ever received?
I mean, there's a lot of great advice I've received. Like, you know, one of them is just like, don't really care what anyone's like saying. Like, especially with social media these days, you get so much hate comms, and like, you know, like you just can't let that get to you. So I feel like it's like, just do what you love. I mean, it's pretty cliche, right? It's like, you know, do what you love.
Cliches are cliches for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, do what you love, and you know, like it'll follow. Like just follow your dreams and it'll figure itself out. Work hard. Motor related, really shout out Tom P, because that casing tip, like, it really helped.
When I asked the question just a minute ago, I thought of him giving you that
advice,
because I'm like, that is pretty good advice.
That is because it has saved myself from a lot of situations that I would have definitely just cased it right high, but like now, like I know, like so shout out Tom P.
Shout out Tom P.
Shout out Tom Parsons, you're the man.
Shout out Tom P. Okay, I'm gonna sign off from over here with you. Okay, Moto Academy episode, God knows what. Did that camera shut off too now? I'm too high? Okay, Kelana Humphrey, dude. Absolutely. Shout out to this guy. Toodles. See you next episode.